So, so today, as we have mentioned in our previous class also, today let us look at all the important current events that can be, asked in this year's personality test. If you remember, in our previous class, I have given you the list of important current events from polity, from economy, from international relations, and also from this administration also. So let us look at all of them one by one. And our focus is mostly on uh, how to answer those questions because as you must be knowing in the UPSC, as I have told you in the previous class also, what you must remember is that UPSC is not at all interested in your answers. You might think that this is a slightly difficult thing to believe, but that is the case. UPSC is mostly interested in your responses. How do you respond to the situation? That is more important. And if the questions are about factual aspects, there is no problem at all because you can easily answer those factual aspects. But if the questions are about analytical aspects, if the questions are about knowing your opinion about a particular issue, that is where it can be problematic for the students. The objective of this current affairs classes is basically to see how you are going to answer those kind of what you can say difficult and sometimes uncomfortable questions also. So what you can do is that if you have any kind of doubts, you can immediately message. If you have any kind of doubts, you can immediately message me, and I will try to clarify those doubts also. Let us try to look at mostly those controversial things in polity, because this is where you will find yourself an uncomfortable position, right? So let us start with some of the important topics. Starting with the first one, say this one nation, one election. As you can see here, nowadays this one nation, one election is becoming a very hot topic because the government has already appointed a joint parliamentary committee to look into this. Ramnath Kovind committee also has given its recommendations, and the report ran into more than 60,800 pages. So the questions that you can expect from them is a direct question they will ask you. The first question they can ask you directly is, are you in favor or against one nation, one election? If the question is asked to you, are you in favor or against this one nation, one election? What will you say? So what is going to be your answer? Are you in favor or against it? Yes. What do you think? One nation, one election. Are you in favor or against it?
Sir, sir, I should particularly answer that there should be one nation, one election, but at the same time, there should be consensus among all the states and all type of mechanism in case of any
Okay.
decision of house can be made.
Okay. So, the problem can come up when these kind of direct answers are asked, because that is where, you can become a little bit more, uncomfortable in terms of your responses. As I keep on saying, it is all about your responses, not your answers. So it does not really matter whether you are in favor or against it, because whatever the government wants to do, they will do it. So you don't have to get into any kind of uncomfortable situation regarding this, because please remember that your opinion will not matter to the government at all. That is what you have to remember at the end of the day. So then, how to answer these kind of questions? One nation, one election. So if they ask you directly, are you in favor or against? Whatever you want to say, you can say it. Please remember, it is not about your answers; it is about your responses. So many people are here, but only one person has responded, right? So that is what it is. It is all about your responses. Now, if you say for yes or if you say for against it, whatever it may be, then you have to be building your arguments, like what what is the reason why you are in favor of it. or why you are against it. That is what it should be. So what are the arguments here? There are arguments, so many arguments which are given by the government for this one nation, one election. First and foremost, the government says that, according to the report of Ramnath Kovind Committee also, that this one nation, one election, can, increase our GDP by at least 1.5% to 2%. It is believed that because of this frequent elections, every year the country is going to elections, at least five states are going to elections every year. This year also you can say now elections are going to be held in Delhi and other states also. So, most of the time the country will be spending its precious time only in conducting elections. It can come in the way of economic growth. So it is believed that it can save 1.5% to 2% of our GDP. But again, this is one of the reports of Ramnath Kovind Committee, but there is no empirical proof to that. And then, the government also says that this one nation, one election is also good because, it can lead to more decisiveness on the part of the state in terms of taking decisions. Why? Because with the frequent elections, the governments would not be in a position to take tough policy decisions because of political consequences. And the government also says that for 5 years there will be stability, and this stability can ensure a better governance also. There will not be any politicization of development process, which is the major problem with India. And the government also says that this one nation, one election also can ensure that for these 5 years, the country can get rid of politics, and the governments and the political parties, especially the governments, can focus on governance than indulging in politics. But equally, there are so many arguments against this one nation, one election also. First and foremost, when you look at it, our constitution makers have opted for parliamentary democracy over presidential democracy. Why? Because presidential form of democracy can lead to more stability, whereas parliamentary democracy can result in more accountability. If you look at it in a presidential democracy, once the president is elected, he cannot be removed for 4 years like in the United States of America. That's what we call stability. And this is what, again, the government is saying that we need for our parliamentary democracy also. Now, the question here is that which is more important for a country, stability or accountability? And obviously, our constitution makers also have opted for accountability. The second reason is that here, this is the most important reason that you have to talk about. If you look at our democracies, in countries like India, democracy is not fully developed in the sense that people still equate elections to accountability, and there are no accountability mechanisms after the elections are over. This is a very important one. If there are no accountability mechanisms after the elections are over. Unlike in Western democracies, wherein there is a lot of awareness among the people about their rights, and they can make their governments accountable through other means. We don't have that kind of accountability mechanisms. If the elections are not held regularly, then it can result in the stability can ultimately lead to a dictatorial functioning of the government also, because there will only be accountability once in 5 years. For 5 years, the governments can function in a dictatorial manner, which may not be what our constitution makers also have envisaged. And the role of judiciary is also mostly what you call a post-mortem in nature. That is the reason why those who are against this, they say that accountability is more important than stability. And the important thing is that, as I have mentioned just now, there is no empirical proof to say that this regular conduct of elections have only resulted in economic growth going down by at least 1.5%. On the other hand, last year when elections were held to Lok Sabha, all political parties combined together had spent around 1,10,000 crores. The money is there within the system only, and it is also reviving most of the rural demand also, because so much money went into the hands of the people through various means. And ultimately, what we have to say here, we have a federal polity wherein people would be voting in elections on different issues. Normally, for national elections, it will be parliament elections, it will be national issues. For state elections, it can be regional issues. If elections are held simultaneously, there is a possibility of national issues dominating state elections. and regional issues might be completely ignored also, which is not what our constitution makers also have opted for. If this is the case, what is the solution? Yes, it is a fact that regular elections are definitely having some kind of negative impact on the stability with regard to governance. The solution is that let there be a situation wherein we can have elections to half of the state assemblies along with Lok Sabha. Remaining half the state assemblies can go to elections after 2.5 years. So that for 2.5 years we have stability again. For that brief period of time, they can talk about elections, and then after that again they can have stability. So this is how we can manage stability and accountability. That is what the solution you can give for one nation, one election. Right? If you have any doubts or if you have any questions, you please ask me them. I will answer them. If you have any questions, you please tell me. I will answer them. Yes? Anyone? Any questions? Yeah, definitely. As Rakesh is saying, can we suggest alternative rather than saying in favor or not in favor? Definitely. Definitely, you can say that one. Yeah, we can talk about alternative. Definitely. Rather than saying for or against it, we can talk about the alternative. Yes, sir. Any other? Shall we move on to the next topic? Okay. Can I go to the next topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. As Rakesh has also mentioned, you can talk about alternatives rather than saying either for or against. Now, moving on, related to the political issues. If you happen to see, uh, you know, uh, when you are attending interview, you will have a budget session also. Those who are attending interviews in their February or March, that was the time we are going to have our budget session. So you can have a lot of questions about functioning of our parliamentary democracy. You can see that bills are passed without any discussion or debate. Last year budget was also guillotined, and then you can see that the government is trying to use its majority on the floor of the house to get bills passed without any discussion. And in the recent election, in the recent monsoon session, we have seen a situation wherein opposition parties have moved no confidence motion against the vice president, also the deputy chairman of chairman of Rajya Sabha, also opposition parties. So the questions we will have definitely those questions, especially those who will be attending their interviews in Feb and March, because you'll have a lot of questions about them, because that was the time, because 30th January this budget session will start, and 31st economic survey will be presented, 1st February, you'll have the budget also. So, you have to be prepared for these questions. What can be done to improve our parliamentary standards? And do you think opposition parties are right in bringing this no confidence motion against the vice president? And why it is not why it has why it is becoming difficult for both the ruling and opposition parties to work in a closed manner, with a closed coordination, and what could be the solutions? So they can ask you all these questions. So let us try to find out all those answers one by one, starting with the tendency of the this politicization of the office of the speaker, and also also the chairman of Rajya Sabha. So what is the solution to these problems? When you talk about these things, you have to go back to the British parliamentary democracy, from whom we have inherited most of our parliamentary practices. So you say that election of the speaker can be done in a more democratic manner, so that it will have more acceptance from all the political parties, rather than a speaker belonging to only ruling political party. Automatically, if the speaker belongs to ruling political party, it can result in this oppositions making allegations that the speaker or the chairman is acting in a more you can say politically partisan manner. So you say that if the speaker of election to the office of the speaker can be done in a more democratic manner. For example, if a person who is elected as speaker, he must have the approval of all the political parties, not only the ruling political party. That means his candidature can be declared valid only if he gets minimum number of MPs supporting him from all political parties. Obviously, when we talk about all political parties, when do political parties support him? Only when they believe that he will be acting in a more what you call impartial manner. Right now, the problem is that the speaker belongs to the ruling political party, and more often than not, the speaker always, even though the speaker is acting in an impartial manner, there are allegations that he might be favoring the ruling political party. So that election of the speaker can be the most important thing here. It can be done. And then another solution is that, as you can see here, opposition parties always demand moving adjournment motions on the floor of the House. When the speaker or the chairman does not allow those adjournment motions, so what do the opposition parties do? They will try to disturb the House. That is when the House is getting disturbed and nobody is nobody is allowing the House to function in normal manner. And what is the solution for this problem? Simple. You can say that, like in British parliamentary practices also, we can also develop a tradition wherein out of when parliament functions 5 days in a week, let one day the business of the House can be decided by the opposition parties. Speaker must act according to the demand of the opposition parties. That is what happens in British parliamentary democracies. That is the way there you don't find this kind of a boycott of the sessions, and you don't find this kind of unruly scenes on the floor of the House. Why? Because one day it is the opposition party that decides the agenda. And this is one solution it can provide again. Because I'm sure again when the budget session starts, it will again going to be a very stormy session with opposition parties again boycotting the session on any other issue. For example, in the last session, it was all about Adani issue. The government never wanted to discuss it, and opposition were insisting on discussing it. So let opposition parties decide the agenda for one day. Next, one more better practice that we can also mention to ensure the accountability of the executive here is that in United Kingdom on every Wednesday, it is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to answer all the questions raised by the members on the floor of the House in the House of Commons. So the Prime Minister will have to stand there for 1 hour and also answer all the questions. You can see that in our parliamentary democracy, opposition parties always keep on demanding that let the Prime Minister come to the House and answer the questions. But unfortunately, we don't see that normally the ruler, the ruling political party members or Prime Minister normally do not respond to the questions of the opposition parties. So let India also have a tradition wherein this Prime Minister has to be present in Lok Sabha one day and Rajya Sabha in one day, in a week, and they must take all the questions from the members for 1 hour. If we can start these kind of traditions, automatically these disruptions can become a thing of the past. One day give it to the opposition, one day let the prime minister come and take up all the questions. Obviously, prime minister is the leader of the country, leader of the house, and apart from the power, he also has to take up some responsibility also. This is the second suggestion we can give. Third suggestion we can give here is that to ensure effective functioning of parliament is, let political parties be not allowed to issue whips in case of passing of ordinary bills, so that there will be members of parliament can go back to their constituencies, talk to their people, discuss the contents, come out with their opinions, and reflect those opinions on the floor of the house. This is also another suggestion that you can give. And then this anti-defection law has been misused. Let anti-defection law be amended also to make sure that the speakers do not have any kind of powers regarding deciding on disqualifications. For the simple reason that wherever we have seen this, or use or mostly misuse of anti-defection law, it always points out to the discretionary powers of the speaker without any accountability mechanisms. These are all some of the solutions you can suggest to improve the functioning of our parliament. Coming back to the question, is it right on the part of opposition parties to move, no confidence motion against the vice president? At the end of the day, vice president is a constitutional authority, and he should not have any kind of political affiliations. And by moving this no confidence motion, is it not the case that opposition parties are politicizing the entire issue? So what you have to say is that definitely these kind of developments are not good for the effective functioning of democracy. You have to say that definitely it does not send the right kind of signals to other countries about our functioning of democracy. But at the same time, we must also go back to the root cause of the problem. Now, what is the root cause of the problem? Opposition parties are always alleging that they are not allowed to speak on the floor of the house. And that is the reason why, as I mentioned, the solution is let one day's agenda in Rajya Sabha also be decided by the opposition parties. Let the government decide the agenda for 4 days and let opposition parties decide the agenda for 1 day. And on that particular day, let vice president also do what members request him to do. Automatically, these problems can be resolved rather than rather than insisting on these no confidence motions, which can only denigrate the functioning of our parliamentary democracy. What we can suggest is that let our parliament come out with more democratic, healthy traditions like that of British parliamentary democracies, and it can ultimately lead to what we call a better and effective functioning of parliamentary democracies. This is what you have to talk about, right? If you have any doubts about this entire parliament and any other kind of questions that you have in your mind, you can please ask me. Then I can answer those questions. As I said, those who will be attending interviews, in February and March, you'll have good number of questions about parliament because of the parliamentary session that will be held. So, any other doubts regarding parliament and functioning of our parliament, rule of speaker, and the no confidence motion against the vice president? Yes, any doubts?
No, sir.
No? Others?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, then let us proceed to the next topics. As you can see here, especially those who are from the south, you can see that this office of governor, every day you can see that there is so much of controversy related to the office of governor, whether it is in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu. So you will definitely be expecting good number of questions about the office of governor and the discretionary powers of governors. So you have to tackle those questions. As I keep on saying, you can easily answer questions related to factual aspects. If you know the answer, you will say yes, you know it. If you don't know, you can say that you don't know it. But if the questions are mostly this kind of political questions, which can make you a little bit more uncomfortable. For example, they can ask you the question, this governor of Tamil Nadu, has left the assembly because national anthem was not played, when the governor speech was going on, or for that matter, governor of Karnataka giving approval to prosecute the chief minister in the Muda scam also. And of course, the tendency of the most of the governors to keep most of the bills with themselves. So they have, these kind of questions that will be asked most of the time. And when these kind of questions are asked, how do you respond to those questions? That's more important, because these are all politically sensitive questions, and any kind of answer that you give can land you in trouble also. So how to tackle those kind of questions? Let us try to understand and find out how to come out with the answers to those kind of questions. For example, where is governor of Tamil Nadu or governor of in Karnataka? So what we say is that our constitutional makers, as usual, our constitutional makers have envisaged the office of governor to be a non-political constitutional position whose primary objective is to make sure that these governors act whose primary objective is to make sure that these chief ministers act according to the provisions of the constitution. But we have seen instances wherein some of the governors had become more proactive also, in terms of having district tours, and also receiving major grievances from the public in Raj Bhavans, in terms of interfering daily in the activities of the state governments, in terms of using their discretionary powers not to give assent to the bills passed by state legislative assemblies, in terms of openly criticizing the state governments also. So these are all some of the instances where we have seen the governors transgressing their powers and entering into the domain of the state administration also. So what is the solution to these problems, and is it right on their part? You say that more than whether it is right or wrong, you have to look at why they are doing like this. That's more important. More than what they are doing right or wrong, you have to go back to the root cause of the problem. Why they are doing like this? You say that they are doing like this because of the politicization of the office of governor. From Sarkaria Commission to the recent MM Panchi Commission, what we can see is that they have identified rightly all the problems, including the Supreme Court also. All of them have rightly identified the problems, saying that it is the politicization of the office of governor that has been responsible for misuse of the powers by the governors. And that is the reason why we have to make sure that those who are appointed as governors are mostly non-political persons with coming from any eminent walk of life also. And we should also make sure that our constitution maybe can be suitably changed to define the discretionary powers of governance with necessary accountability mechanisms. At this point of time, governors have so many discretionary powers without any accountability mechanisms. For example, this Punjab state government, Telangana state government, and Bengal state government, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, all of them have approached Supreme Court saying that governors are not giving approval to the bills passed by the state legislative assemblies. So let there be some kind of accountability mechanisms also. Supreme Court kept on saying that the governors cannot behave like this. They are constitutional authorities and they should not enter into the daily day-to-day politics of the state governments. Supreme Court judgment is very much clear here. They cannot, because the Supreme Court has spoken about these things in Arunachal Pradesh Rai Naiba case also. Supreme Court has said the same thing in Eknath Shinde case also in Maharashtra, wherein that it has said that governors have no business to be actively involving themselves in the day-to-day politics of the administration. So you can quote these statements because Supreme Court has already mentioned all those things. And you say that we have to address the basic problem here, that is politicization of the office of governor. And Supreme Court can only give guidelines. Committees can give their recommendations. At the end of the day, it has to be implemented by the governments. Unless and until the recommendations are not implemented, this kind of politicization will continue to be an integral part of our federal polity. That is what you have to say. Basically, when you are answering these kind of questions, it can be a little bit more tricky for you because if you say that what the governor is doing is wrong, it may not be liked by the it may not be liked by the board. On the other hand, if you said what the governor is doing is right, that may also not be liked by the board. That is the reason why in these kind of situations, this is what I always say, you have to raise above the question. Rather than answering the question directly, come to the major problem there, why this kind of incidents are taking place. And you come out with the solution. That is what you have to say. Because what these governors are doing, some of the governors are doing is definitely not not right by any standards also. But again, they will continue to do like this. Why? Because as we say, the basic problem is politicization. If you can answer this issues related to politicization, then automatically these problems can be easily resolved. That's what you have to say here. You have to raise about the question. Politicization, yeah. Any questions? Hello.
Sir, reforms regarding governor's office.
What are the reforms regarding governors? That is what I have mentioned. These reforms are already suggested by Sarkara Commission, Supreme Court judgment in SR Bommai case, and then the Supreme Court's judgment in Bihar Assembly dissolution case, and in Second Administrative Reforms Commission recommendations. And we also have the MLG Commission. What all of them have suggested? All of them have suggested that a person who is appointed as governor should always be a non-political person, or he should not have actively participated in the politics in the recent past. For example, take the case of till recently, Telangana has Tamil Sai as governor, and immediately she resigned just before the elections, the Lok Sabha elections, and she contested elections. Right now, again, she is a very active politician in Tamil Nadu. That is what these commissions and committees have suggested. They said that once a person is appointed as governor, he should be made eligible only to be renominated as governor, or it must be eligible to only vice president or president and no other position, because we must depoliticize the function office of governor. And similarly, active politicians should never be appointed as governors. And governors should not be restricted only to politicians. Governors can be from any eminent walk of life. The governors can be from academic background. Governors can be from commerce background, medical background, legal background, sports background, army background. Anyone can be appointed, but make sure that they are men of integrity. That is what these commissions have suggested. And as long as this politicization is there, this kind of misuse of powers by the governors will always be there. That is what you say, without mentioning the names of Tamil Nadu governor or any other governor.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. If they ask, what is your stand on Tamil Nadu issue? Should we support governor or CM?
What you have to say is that you can be a little bit more diplomatic here. What you can say here is that both the governor and chief minister, as pointed out by Supreme Court also, are higher constitutional dignitaries of the state government. instead of openly expressing their grievances and the differences in public, which can lower the position of these constitutional dignitaries, they must come together and also sit together and resolve the differences in a more amicable manner. Otherwise, it will only result in lowering the dignity rights of the people. That is what they say.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And if they still say that who is right and who is wrong, then you can give your own opinion. Without anything else, you can give your own opinion, because that is what UPSC is also looking at. If the governor is right, you can say governor is right. If you think that governor is wrong, you can give your opinion. You have to give such to the politicians, and you have to be very honest, and you must have courage of conviction also. So, depending on your conviction, you can give your own opinion. You can say that instead of airing his grievances in public, he could have settled the matters with the chief minister in private. That would have helped gain credibility of both the offices. You can say that.
So, what solution can we give for Parliament passing bills without consultation?
Yeah, very good. What are the suggestions we can give? You can say that Article 107 of our Constitution should be amended. And what is the solution that we are providing here? The solution we are providing here is very simple. What we say is, Article 1 for the Parliament to discuss, debate, and send the bills to parliamentary committees before they are voted on. Ruling political parties, what they do, they use the majority on the floor of the House to get bills passed without discussion or debate. Why? Because accountability is always at any point of time is more important than efficiency. In 35% of the bills were passed in less than 1 hour time. And you say that in United Kingdom, on an average, it will take their parliament at least 12 to 14 months to pass a bill. That is what you can say. That is the reason why make changes to Article 107. That's what you can say. Yes. Any other questions?
So regarding the Samuda scam and governor giving the approval to what stand we
approval.
can take here, sir?
In case of Muda, the governor has given approval, for prosecuting the chief minister. The governor basically says that has given approval on the basis of the evidence that is available to him. Right? You can say the same thing. You can say that the actions of the governors can be justified on the basis of the available evidence with the governors, because here here the basic issue here is that there are allegations against the chief minister and scam, and the investigative agencies are also going into the investigations, and they wanted to prosecute the chief minister. To prosecute the chief minister, governor's permission is needed, and governor using his discretionary powers has given his permission. And if you go by the, we don't have to, question the intentions of the governor. That is what Supreme Court would always say the same thing also. Supreme Court would always say that they will not question the discretionary powers of governors. In the same manner, we can also say the same thing. In the same manner, we can also say the same thing that we should not ascribe any kind of intentions to the governor, but investigations must be carried out in a time-bound manner so that there should not be any political uncertainty also. That is what you can say.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And the law should be taking its own course. And investigations must be carried out in a time-bound manner, either to make the chief minister accountable, or he should be he can be also relieved of the accusations also. But it should be done in a time-bound manner so that there will not be political instability in the state. More than what the governor has done, you have to focus on what should be done now. There must be time limit for the investigations, and so that accountability can be fixed.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And any other questions about governors and parliament? Any other questions?
Sir,
Yeah.
on this, the governors not giving the approval for the bills and keeping
Yeah.
it for the presidential approval. So for that,
Yeah.
what can we suggest? One is having the time limit for the governor to give approval, right?
Yes. As I have mentioned, our constitutional makers have given many discretionary powers to governors without any accountability mechanisms, because they never expected the governor's office of governor to become highly politicized as it is now. So, what is the solution? As I said, we can think about amending the constitution, wherein a time limit can be fixed for the governors can be fixed for the governors to give their opinion. It does not mean that they have to accept everything. They can always reject it. They can always reject it. They can always send it back to the council of ministers. But let there be, in the true spirit of cooperative federalism, let there be what we call a time limit fixed for the governors in the true spirit of cooperative federalism. Because as Supreme Court also has mentioned repeatedly in its judgments, it has said that governors have no right to come in the functioning of the state governments. As long as the chief minister is having majority on the floor of the house, governors should never come in the function in a way of the functioning of the state governments. If they have any kind of problems with the bills that are passed, in fact, Supreme Court also has said that governors does not have this power to exercise a pocket veto also. They don't have the power, to exercise pocket veto also. They must give their opinion. That is what you can say. Whenever you are answering these kind of questions, you take the help of Supreme Court. Supreme Court made these comments in the cases that were heard by the Supreme Court. So you can say that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So whenever you're answering this kind of critical questions, you always take the help of either judiciary or constitution.
Okay.
Because don't try to give your own opinion, take the help of them. So you are basically fighting from the shoulders of judiciary or constitution.
Okay, sir.
Right. And any other doubt about governance? And their discretionary powers? As I mentioned, in case of Karnataka, I try to raise above the question. You say that governor has already given permission to prosecute the chief minister in the Muna scam, but the state cannot afford any political uncertainty. There must be a time limit for completing the investigations and fix the accountability on the part of the people who have committed the crime. That is more important. That's what you have to say. I try to raise above that question.
Okay, sir.
Right. That is, if that is the case, can we move on to the next topics, other topics in polity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I think, can you tell me the topics that I have given you last time in current affairs? Because right now I did not have those topics with me. Any other topics? If you have written those topics, you can mention them here. in the chart here.
So one nation, one election, UCC.
One nation, one election. I think I have already discussed. Then speaker's biasness on deciding upon defections, and that is what this anti-defection law has been misused, right? And anti-defection law has been misused. What is the solution? Very simple. You have to give this solution blindly, and whenever they ask you about what should be the solution, you say that the power to decide defections should be taken away from the speaker, as can be seen that speakers have misused those powers. So what is the solution? Very simple. Let any person who wants to defect, his seat must automatically become vacant. That means, irrespective of what the speaker says or does, his seat automatically should become vacant. For example, a person is from the Congress, he wants to join BJP. Let him join BJP. But before joining the BJP, let him resign immediately, and it should be automatic in nature. And there is no need for a speaker or anyone else to take decisions. And the other solution is that let the person be allowed to contest elections within the 6 months. Normally, once a seat becomes vacant, a by-election should be held within a period of 6 months. So let this person contest elections from, say, BJP's from BJP's party ticket. If he wins elections, let him come back and come back to the assembly and join the assembly also. Join the assembly and become part of the government also. This is the solution, because otherwise, if it is given to the speaker right now, what is happening in Telangana? Many of the BRS MLAs have defected to the ruling Congress party, and the matter went to the High Court. High Court has said that we cannot look into the discretionary powers of the speaker, and the speaker will not take decisions for 5 years. So obviously, it is deceiving the mandate of the people. You have been elected on the basis of one political party, and you are defecting to another political party. If you want, you can do that, but resign and contest elections from other parties' seat. That is the solution. Let this power be taken away from the speaker. That is what you have to say, because it has been misused more than it has been it has been misused more number of times than being properly used. His seat should automatically become vacant, and let him be allowed to contest elections on other political party, and if he wins, let him come back and join the government also. That is what you call respecting the mandate of the people. So this is the solution we can provide for speaker's biasness, deciding upon defection. So that the speaker does not have any kind of role in deciding the defections. Because wherever we have seen, more often than not, what we have seen is that speakers have been using their discretionary powers mostly to benefit the ruling political party at the center, in the process of defeating the very purpose of the elections also, and the mandates also. Right? Then proceeding further, uniform civil code. This is one more issue which can be problematic. So what is they will say? Are you in favor of uniform civil code or not? What is your reaction? Are you in favor or against it? Obviously, you have to say that you are in favor of uniform civil code, right? You have to say that you are in favor of uniform civil code. That is what you have to say. Why? Because uniform civil code should always be looked at from the perspective of gender equality, rather than from the perspective of religion. That is the reason why our Prime Minister also has called it as a secular civil code. Irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your faith, Constitution guarantees rights to every person, equal rights to every person, and this is what our constitution makers also have mentioned as part of Article 44 also, and that is what you can say. Are you in favor of uniform civil code? Means yes, this is one legislation that can do justice to especially women in all religions. Why? Because most of the religions are mostly discriminatory against women. That is what you say. try to answer this uniform civil code not from a religious perspective. I'll try to answer this question, uniform civil code, from the perspective of gender issues. Automatically, your answers will be more or less controversial. That is what you have to remember. You say that when you're answering the questions related to uniform civil code, you say that irrespective of religion, women are always treated as secondary grade citizens due to the traditions and the patriarchal societies. And this uniform civil code can definitely is a very good instrument to ensure gender equality and gender empowerment. That is what you have to say. And if there is any conflict between religious, if there is any conflict between religious traditions and customs, and then in a constitution, obviously constitution should be given more importance. That is what you have to say, right?
Okay, sir.
And as I said, when you are answering uniform civil code, remember that you are answering this uniform civil code only from gender perspective, not from religious perspective. Never get into issues related to religion. Always talk about uniform civil code only from gender perspective. Right? So, any other questions related to UCC, uniform civil code? And never get into that religious debate.
Sir, if any religion related questions comes, for example, this one or minority, we can end it by saying that irrespective of the religion, the constitutional values and the morality should take the
Exactly.
first place, right?
Yes, you say that, that's what I said also. In case of any conflict between religious traditions and customs and constitutional rights of citizens, we should always give importance to constitutional rights. Why? As we study in our ethics paper, if there is a conflict between primary laws and secondary laws of nature, we should always give importance to primary laws of nature. Primary laws are what we call them as the natural laws. And our constitution is based on this primary laws of nature, on the basis of equality, non-discrimination, protection. And that is the reason why we should always give importance to primary laws of nature, that is constitution. This is where you can be very, very much firm in your opinion also. And this kind of firmness in your opinion can be more attractive also in terms of getting good marks in interview.
Okay, sir.
Because it does not mean that you are against religion. It only means that you are more in favor of natural rights of the citizens, which are given to us by nature. Because nature does not recognize any kind of religions. Nature treats people only as human beings, and as human beings, all of us must have equal rights. Simple. Right?
Yes.
And this is where you can be a little bit more firm in terms of your answers. You don't have to be beating around the bush.
Okay, sir.
Right? Any other doubt about UCC? Okay. Shall I proceed to the next issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Let us look at this caste census. Should we have caste census or not? Because Congress party right now is strongly fighting for caste census. You say that yes, the last time in India we had caste census was in 1931 when the Britishers were in India. After that, we did not have any caste census, but this is also not completely true, because after every 10 years, we have a caste census related to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, not for other, castes. Every 10 years, we are having caste census related to SCs and STs to find out about their population also. But is it necessary for us to have a much broader, much wider caste census? You said that definitely it is required. Because you can say that definitely it is required, but we must also look at what is the purpose of this caste census. These cost census are needed. Why? Because we must know the socio-economic, educational, and cultural status of various groups in India within especially Hindu religion. Because Hindu religion is not a uniform religion wherein everyone is treated equally. So there are some sections which are who are treated differently because of their birth also, and we needed that kind of socio-economic, educational, and the cultural status of all these different groups of people. But how we are going to use that information is more important than having a cost census. That is what very important. If this cost census is used only for the purpose of increasing the reservations, it can defeat the very purpose of the entire census also. It can defeat the very purpose of the entire census also. That is the reason why you have to say that this cost census must be used to know about the socio-economic conditions of these different groups, and the government must come out with proactive measures to improve their conditions. For example, come out with a better affirmative action in the form of better education, providing better health facilities, improving their skills, and improving the infrastructure so that they can be empowered in the long term. It can help the government to decide public policies in a more efficient manner. That is what you have to say. It should also help the government to decide on its spending of monies on welfare administration in a more, again, effective manner. That should be the idea, and that should be the motive of cost census. On the other hand, if the objective of cost census is to only to increase the reservations, it will be defeating the entire whole exercise also. Because in the age of globalization and liberalization, in the age of market-dominated economies, reservations cannot be the solutions to the problems of unemployment and backwardness. That is what you have to say. That is what you have to say. You have to be very, very clear about what is the objective of this cost census. You say that definitely the country needs this cost census for the simple reason that we do not have the proper data for any public policy. Try to also answer this cost census from the public policy perspective. For any public policy to be efficient, for any efficient allocation of financial resources, we need proper data. As Subramania is asking the question, is cost census only option to know about socioeconomic data? It is one of the options, and it is one of the most what you call scientific options, definitely. Subramania, you can say that it is very better. And how do we know the socioeconomic data then without this census? How do we know about it? Because we have to know the socioeconomic conditions of different groups of people. We must know the socioeconomic conditions of different groups of people. We'll come to know about the socioeconomic conditions only when we have the proper data at the ground level. And for example, take in a case of a particular caste. Out of this particular caste only, not everyone will be backward. We should know how many of them are more empowered. That is the kind of data we need so that we can identify those sections and help those sections only, rather than blindly giving the reservations, blindly increasing the reservations. Because for reservations to be successful, they must be properly targeted also. And this socioeconomic cost census can definitely help us. And it can make these policies more effective also. And that is what you have to write for this question. You have to basically say, definitely we need this cost census, but at the same time we need we have to define the objectives of this cost census. And it cannot be used as an instrument to only to increase the reservations, like what some political parties are talking about now. Then the board members will ask you counter questions. Do you think that these cost census are going to divide the society in a more in a more decisive manner? It can lead to more divisions within the society. You say that the divisions are already there in the society. The objective of this caste census is there to reduce those divisions and move towards more egalitarian societies. If there is socio-economic development of the particular communities, automatically the discrimination can be overcome also. That is what you can say. And that is what Ambedkar also has pointed out. What if this should caste census be extended to other faiths also? What we must remember is that there are no caste. This caste as a social phenomena is only restricted to Hindu religion. So there are no castes in other religions. So it is not required that we must extend this caste census to other religions. Other religions don't recognize caste. If you look at global level also, Islam or Christianity does not have any caste-based divisions. This caste is only restricted only to Hindu religion. So it need not be extended to other religions. That's what you can say. Okay, any other question about this caste census?
Sir, why certain castes are opposing caste census?
But what are those castes that are opposing caste census?
Sir, Lingayats and Vakkaligas in Karnataka, they are opposing the census.
Okay, they are opposing them. Well, maybe I don't know exactly the reason why they are opposing, because I'm not that much clear about the Karnataka society as such. But
Okay.
whatever that I heard is that the Lingayats and Vakkalingas are opposing caste census because Lingayats and the Vakkalingas, I believe that they believe that they are not part of Hindu society. They must be recognized as a separate minority sect. That is what I think the reason. Because sometime back there is a controversy that these Lingayats have demanded that they should not be treated as part of Hindu religion, and they should be treated as a minority sect, and they should be given all the benefits of minority religions. That's what I heard sometime back. I don't know whether it is true or not, and that might be the reason why they are opposing, because they believe that they are not part of Hindu. I don't exactly know the other reasons.
Okay, sir.
But I think I heard this one that they must be recognized as a separate minority sect.
Yes, sir. Lingayats, they are demanding it, but not Vakkaligas.
Yeah, Lingayats are demanding it. Lingayats are demanding it. That's what I'm saying. They are demanding it. That is the reason why they did not want caste census. And it's not scientific, but again, the caste itself is not scientific. What we must remember is that caste itself is not scientific. There are no scientific divisions for caste. For example, if you go back to the Vedic period, we had only Varna system, not caste system. This Varna system was based on the professions, and it has recognized only different types of Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas and Shudras, Varna system. But we do not have any caste as such. For a period of time, this Varna system has transformed itself into extremely rigid caste system. And it has been perpetuated by the political parties in India since independence with the objective of creating vote banks and winning elections. That is what you can say. Yeah, could it pay the way for vote banks? Yes, it could be definitely be paving the way for vote banks, but it is fine, because as long as the interests of weaker sections are protected, no problem. Let it be paving the way for vote banks. Because democracy otherwise can be all about majority only. Someone has to protect the interests of minorities also. As we study in our governance also, pressure groups, they are needed for us. We needed those pressure groups. Definitely. We needed this kind of pressure groups to ensure the protection of the weaker sections. If it is ready to vote bank, let it be. But let these political parties think about this cause from a much higher perspective rather than winning elections only, creating vote banks. Let them think about how they can come up with policy decisions that would empower these backward cause. That is what you can say. will there might be internal divisions within the larger caste group if caste census happen. Again, that's why Lingaites and Vokalingas are protesting. There will be internal divisions because the problem is that conducting this caste census in a scientific manner is also a major problem, a major issue. Why? Because within a major caste group only there are so many subcastes also. The question is that should we be treating all the subcastes as separate castes or part of the bigger castes only? As Rakesh is pointing out here, definitely that is the reason why Vokalingas and Lingais are also opposing it, because it will further divide their communities. But again, the only thing here is that when this caste census is taking place, we have to be identifying first what are the castes. Then we have to look at the people who are following those castes. That is important. On the basis of general agreement among the different sections of society, these caste groups will be decided. It will not be done in a what you call, it will not be done in a haphazard manner. I heard that, Karnataka state government has already done this caste census, and they are also going to table the report on the floor of the house also, I think. Okay, that is the reason why we say that, that is the reason why, as I mentioned just now, this caste census must be done in a very scientific manner. It must be done in a scientific manner. And it will take time also. It will not be done in a one day. It can take 1 year. It will be taking 2 years also, because you have to go to each and every household and also find out about the caste to which they belong to. And this is necessary because at the end of the day, this caste census can be the basis of all the developmental and welfare policies of the government. That is what you can say. That's what you can say. Will it result in more divisions within those communities? Yes, it can result in more divisions within the communities, because there will be more identities also. There can be more identities also. As I mentioned, whenever you are answering questions related to caste census, the only thing that you have to remember here is that you have to tell the board all the time that the objective of caste census should not be to create more divisions and identities. The objective of caste census should be to know about socio-economic conditions of various groups within the Hindu community. That is what you have to say, and it should be done in a very scientific manner, with a very strong empirical foundations. That is what you have to say, and it should not become a political football, a game between political parties. And it is better if this caste census is done along with the population census, because population census is a much more comprehensive exercise. Right now in Karnataka as well as in Telangana, they are doing the caste census, but it is done in a more haphazard manner. They don't go to each and every household. They are doing this caste census sitting in their offices, which may not be serving the purpose for which it has been intended, except that they can be using this caste census to give more reservations. Beyond that, it will not help much. That is the reason why this caste census should be held along with the population census. Then it can be more comprehensive. And let this caste census be done by agencies which have more experience in these matters, rather than by the government agencies who do not have expertise in these matters. That is what you can say.
So
On the
one
scene said that we should do skill census rather than caste census. Can we suggest? But again, skill census can be done, but it cannot be an alternative. It cannot be a substitute to caste census. That is what you have to remember. He can talk about skill census. Definitely, skill census can be done. And if you do the skill census, you don't have to do the skill census. Also, economic survey already has mentioned this is economic survey. It has already mentioned that more than 50% of our graduates do not have any skills also. So you don't require any skill census as such. Skill census cannot be substituted to caste census, because there are some sections of society definitely who are backward, and we should take measures to develop them, definitely. But only thing is that it should be done in a more scientific manner. It should be done in a more empirical manner without looking for immediate short-term political gains. That is what you say.
So one question on this caste lines itself.
Yeah.
So, for example, if there are any Dalits or SC, STs, they get converted to Buddhism or Christianism. So, do we think that the reservations given to them should be continued or revoked?
Yes, this is what, if you go by what the central government's position here is that, this, even recently Supreme Court also has come out with the judgment in Tamil Nadu regarding this only. If you happen to, read the newspapers. And, Supreme Court has struck down the reservations of a scheduled caste women, who got promotions because of this SC status only. And Supreme Court has reverted that a decision of the Tamil Nadu state government because at the time of her birth itself, she was baptized into Christianity by her parents according to the will, and she has been practicing Christianity only, and she has never been part of the Hindu religion, but she was only looking for reservations only. That is the reason why she called herself a scheduled caste person. So when these kind of conversions take place only with the objective of getting reservations, it should always be stopped. As far as these scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes in other religions, this is what the stand of the government from the beginning onwards, that this untouchability scheduled caste scheduled tribes are there only part of Hindu community but not in other communities, in other religions, and that is the reason why they do not want to recognize them. And what most of the state governments are doing is that they are saying that we will recognize them as other backward castes, and we are willing to give reservations to them. That is what they are saying.
Okay, sir.
But at the end of the day, what should be the ideal solution? You have to again. These are all very controversial issues, and as I said, mostly you have to go by Supreme Court judgments only with regard to these things. But at the end of the day, you have to raise about these things also as part of your answers. What do you mean by rising above, these things? You have to say that all these problems are coming up because of this social and educational backwardness of people in the society. The focus of the government should be more on providing a better education, better health, and better infrastructure, so that our increasing population can be converted into human resources. That should be the ideal solution, and that is what you have to say.
Yes.
Rather than fighting over these limited positions within the government in the name of reservations. That is what you have to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right? Yeah. Because then these are all very controversial things. This is where you have to go only by Supreme Court judgments.
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is it is. Any other questions about this caste census and reservations and everything? Internal reservations. What is the question here? Internal reservation means what? Subramanya is asking one thing, internal reservation. What does it mean, internal reservation? SC, ST, yeah. Okay, SC, ST subcategorization. SC and ST subcategorization. Again, this is an issue which again Supreme Court has also spoken about it. Supreme Court has said that we must have a creamy layer within the SCs and STs also, and it is also found that among the SCs and STs only there are few sections, few castes within the SCs and STs who have benefited out of these reservations. And Supreme Court has said that we must have a sub-classification. And what is the position of the political executive? The political executive, especially of all the political parties combined together, their position is very simple here. They say that it is true that there are some sections of some castes in SCs and STs have benefited out of reservations, but it does not mean that all of them have benefited out of these reservations. So that is the why they say that they do not want any further subcategorization or subclassification of SCs and STs. That is the demand. That is what the opinion of the most political parties. And what should be your answer? That's more important. Because when the Supreme Court had come out with the judgment recently, immediately all the SC members of BJP met the Prime Minister with the demand that there should not be any subcategorization of SCs. And they said that any kind of the subcategorization of SCs can only lead to more conflict within the community. They say that this entire SC community should be treated as a homogeneous community. And Supreme Court has demanded that there should be subcategorization also. Then what is your opinion? What should you be saying here? What you should be saying here? Because you don't have to be political in your approach. You say that the objective of reservations is to make sure that maximum sections of society are belonging to backward castes should be benefiting out of these reservations. So till now, as part of Article 14, in Article 14 we talk about equality before law, the rule of law. In this rule of law, we have taken this rule of law both from British and American constitutions. From British constitution, we have taken equality before law. From American constitution, we have taken equal protection of laws. As part of equal protection of laws, we have given importance to two things: procedural equality and substantive equality. And in America, they have procedural equality. What do you mean procedural equality? Basically, you are giving more importance to the means than to the ends. So in America, if you're a poor person, if you're a black, the government will make sure that you will be getting all kinds of subsidies. You'll get free education in best of the colleges and best of the schools, and you'll have housing and everything, so that you'll every aspect of your life is taken care of by the government. But once you come out of the colleges, once you come out of the educational institutions, they say that you must focus only on getting the job in the market without any reservation, because America is a capitalist society. On the other hand, in India, what we have done? In India, we have given more importance to substantive equality. That means we have given importance to equality in terms of outcomes. That is the reason why we have reservations. So over a period of time, these reservations have become an end in themselves rather than a means to achieve the other end called egalitarian societies. So that is where SC/ST subclassification can be seen from that perspective. If you say that if it is proved empirically that there are some sections of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes have benefited more of these reservations, and you have to make sure that they are available to other sections also. You can have creamy layer. That is what it has said. That is what Supreme Court also has said. So you can always say those things. So, right. Any other questions about these reservations? Right. Okay, then I think we can stop it for today. And tomorrow we will have we can continue this one.
Okay,
And,
sir.
and any kind of doubts you have, I think all of you might have my number also. Yes,
Yes, sir.
all of you have my number. Let me type my number also here. You can always come out with your doubts, and you send me your doubts to by WhatsApp. And tomorrow's class, I will take up all these things. And tomorrow we will try to look at other political issues, and then we will go to other issues also. We can go for economy and other topics also. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And make sure that you are going through the newspapers regularly. and going through all the articles. That's very important.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tomorrow, you will be informed about the time also in advance in the morning, and we can have it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Best of
Thank you,
luck.
sir. It was useful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Best
sir.
of luck. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you.